Yeah, hopefully the weather is much better down in Swansea this weekend. We spoke to Gareth Thomas earlier. He reflected on that Connacht game by saying he thought it was a bit of both, a bit of mental attitude from the players themselves as well as physical. Would you agree with that?
I think it was a bit of a shock. I don't think it was that we underestimated or we felt. We were confident in our ability for sure, and that's great, and that's where we want us to be. We want to be believing in that we can do what we do, and we've been there and won before. So I don't think it certainly wasn't overconfidence. I think it was a plethora of things in relation to things that either not conspired against us, but ultimately situational around. Andy Friend said that it's a massive toss to win. They play there all the time. They know what to do. They minimise your advantage with the wind and maximise theirs. So look, it's a learning curve with a lot of senior players missing and a young team. Every coach would say we're better for the experience. I'm not sure that's true, but the youngsters have certainly learned something about themselves and about that situation, and that's part of the journey we're on.
Yeah, so you're back home this weekend then. Another Irish team. What do you expect from Ulster?
Well, they'll be very buoyant and confident after beating Leinster in Leinster, that's for sure. So, look, I'm on record, and you guys are probably a little bit tired of me saying that they're the benchmark to mark ourselves against, the Irish Provinces, but it's factually accurate and it's true. So I see it as an opportunity to show better than we did last week, and we'll need to do that, but also it's a benchmarking opportunity to see how far we are on that journey that we talk about.
You mentioned those international and more senior players being absent last week. On selection this week, then, are you looking to welcome back any of those internationals that have been missing since the autumn?
Yeah, we are. We've obviously got some people back, and their managed program. Last week, I've got the list in front of me because I couldn't remember them all. So unavailable from last week, Rod Jones, Dowie Lake, Tom Francis, Alaman Jones, Adam Beard, Justin Tibrick, Dan Lydiate, Michael Collins, Kieran Williams, Matt Prothero, Alex Cuthbert, Anscombe, George North. That's a considerable chunk, but we've never used it as an excuse, and I don't intend to start now. And as I said, the basics for those boys that took the pitch weren't good enough. The good thing for us is we do get an injection of some players. So Tom Francis, for example, available. Dowie Lake's trained this week. Michael Collins has trained this week. Prothero's trained. Cuthbert's trained. Anscombe's trained. So at least we've got some choice, which is good. And finding a blend of those things will certainly will help us for sure.
I was going to ask about those players if they're all injured, but they were just unavailable due to different reasons.
Some are injured. So Beardy, for example, everyone knows what happened to him for Wales and HIA, and you've got to take the welfare of your players. Some are on managed protocols in relation from international duty. Some are just getting back from injury. So like Michael Collins, Kieran Williams still hasn't trained. Matt Prothero's just coming back from back onto the training pitch. Dowie Lake, Rod Jones. So those boys are just about coming back, and it's just about how far we want to expose them in what is a really, really tough block. We go into obviously Champions Cup coming up. We want to bounce back from last week, so it's a bit of a balancing act, and we can't look too much further forward than that.
And I have to ask you then, as a regional coach, one of the Welsh regional coaches, you will obviously, I'm sure, have concerns about what's been going on with the Scouts and Cardiff squads out in South Africa.
Yeah.
Given what's happened to them then, when it's your time to go, would you consider not going because of what's happened to them, or where do you stand on that?
I stand probably on the position of what's the situation at the time. We don't go there for a while, and everyone's aware of the new variant and what that slightly different protocols are. So we're learning on a daily basis of what we can and can't do and what the repercussions are. And it's probably at this point important. The most important thing is the safety of people. Whether they're from Cardiff, Scarlets, from Ospreys. That's really, really important. Munster, it's the same. We've received an email this week from Scarlets, obviously inquiring to whether we've got players to help them availability for the Champions Cup. They've asked for 7 or 8 players, and we're willing to help out because it's important that we see the bigger picture here. It'll suit us from obviously giving some people some opportunity to play in a prestigious game, but really the boundaries are certainly softer when you have to effectively contingency plan to that extreme. So yeah, it's about getting everyone in the tent together a little bit if you can, and helping each other out and looking after each other.
Just be a mind reader, because that was going to be my final question. If you heard anything from the Scarlets or Cardiff, Irene Logan plays for those who played.
Yeah, we've not currently heard from Cardiff. Obviously, Scarlets from a vicinity point of view is probably. We received an email and asking for quite a number of different positions, and the good thing for us is I think that we can help them out. Obviously, we need to get player approval, and EPCR need to agree around people not being cut tied by playing and that sort of stuff, but hopefully common sense prevails and we can keep people playing.
I guess looking at the issues you had in midfield last week, it'd be good to sort of get an extra body in there to give you options.
Yeah, for sure, and everyone wants strength in depth and whatever, and we brought Mike here because to develop different parts of our game, and he's an experienced guy that talks well. And when you're depleted from a leadership and experience point of view, you need experienced players to guide the youngsters around you, and having him back just around the place and on the training pitches. There's been a notable improvement in our vocality, which is really important.
Do you have a return date for Justin, Toby?
Not specifically, as I said, we're in that sort of need to be ticked off by the consultant. We're hoping to get him back for the derbies at Christmas.
And going back to that Connacht game, how much did you learn from it?
Yeah, again, it shows that rugby can still be a very simple game, and your basics need to stand up, under extreme pressure, both from opposition and from your surroundings. And that's probably, it's not such a learning, it's a reminder. And ultimately, we need to be resilient to all types of adversity. So that's the overriding thing for me. And young players, as we talked about, we're promoting young players. We're always going to do that. Grow our own. That's part of them understanding that journey.
Did any players stand out in adversity for you?
I think that in their own way, but I'm not going to stand here and as a head coach of a region after the nature of that loss and say it was acceptable, because it wasn't.
And you mentioned Michael there. I guess in the centre this week you're going to be up against potentially 2 really good centres, in James Hume and Stuart Kloski. So you really need to shut that door, don't you? Yeah,
for sure. And we know that we were found wanting from a defensive point of view, from that point of view, and we need to make sure that we support Richie Pugh and we all get behind the defensive side of the game, because the fundamentals need to stand up.
You're going into Europe the week after, a place is wide open for you, and there to be playing with good performances.
Always, and that's the type of environment we're trying to get to. There's no reputations here in that, in that side of things. You're not going to penalise people for playing international rugby, of course. That's a given. But once you put that shirt on, that what you deliver is ultimately what you deliver, and we all have our own standards, and the reason international players are what they are, and the reason people are learning their trade is what they are. But you can only be as good as your talent and level will decide. But what we do ask is that we try and aspire to be that level every single time. So the people that do that are the ones that often play the most.
That's great, Toby. I lost the last bit, but don't worry about it. I'll pick it up off someone else.
No problem.
Thanks very much.
No worries.
Toby, you won't be the first or the last team to suffer a horrible wet and windy death in February. So you put it in context, trying to file it away and
Correct.
move on.
Yeah, exactly. We're still 4th and 6, so yeah, absolutely right.
Sorry, we had Gareth Thomas earlier on. I just want to ask quickly about your loose head prop sort of farm you've got there. I mean, you've got 3 hugely competitive and talented players there, and all vying not just for your jersey but for the Wales jersey. What is it you've seen in Gareth that's brought him through, and why did you give him that opportunity?
I think the first thing is he earned the opportunity. That's the first thing, and that's a credit to him. What I like about him is he's a very. They all are, to be fair. They drive each other competitively, but he's got an edge to him, a competitive edge to him, and I think he displays that in training, in the gym, consistently. And the more competitive edge people you've got, we've got a number. So, a number of the international boys. So Alan, Alwyn, obviously. Lydia Tipperick, the reason they are international players is because Webby is a great example. Is they're competitive in the combative side of the game, and I think that they enjoy that combat, they enjoy that competition, and that drives the energy within the team. So that obviously, with his capability to play the game, we're trying to be a more attack base. He's got a good skill set and bring something different in the loose head prop position.
I guess the key thing is Mark asked him quite rightly about the yellow card, and that shouldn't be the thing that people just remember him for the autumn series. I'm sure he'll learn from it, but
yeah, I mean, people talk about
yeah,
you can talk about that, but if you look at the week before, when he came off the bench, he changed the game for me.
Yeah.
So look, it's part of being a competitor. Now you have to control that, of course, but he was definitely instrumental, I thought, when, against 14 men of changing the energy of the team the week before. So for me, I'd much be rather talking about, trying to, if you like, quieten someone down than rev someone up, and that's part of it.
Yeah. What have you had to say to Nicky in particular, and how's he taken it? And are sparks flying at the gym and on the field?
No, well, obviously Rod's back, so that makes it a little bit more spicy. But he's only just come back, and Nicky, to be fair, is not trained really very much because of his HIA. So actually, we haven't had that scenario that you talk about. But live scrums next Tuesday could be interesting for sure.
Yeah. In the golden period of the Ospreys that we're coming back into, obviously, they always had a plethora of front row forwards and international options. And that seems to be where you're looking to get to now, and that's going to make you stronger when you talk about fundamentals of basics of the game. It all starts there.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a saying in the Premiership in England: "No scrum, no chance." And I think that when we talk about the fundamentals of the game, that's part and parcel of what we talk about. So if you look at what we've got at loose head, at tight head, and the youngsters that we're recruiting, strength and depth in those positions. The capability you have in those positions, once you get, through 2 or 3 layers of that, if you've got nothing, then you can win the game. You can lose the game, without even making a pass, making a tackle. So, from that point of view, yeah, I've made that mistake before in my previous life in the Premiership about recruiting lots of pretty stuff and not enough grunt. So from that point of view, you've got to make sure that you give everyone a great chance to show what they can do off the front foot. And we talk about Ulster, that's exactly what they do. They go on the front foot and make life difficult for you. Connor have done the same. And when we've played well, that's exactly what we've done. It's a simple game if you've got momentum, and momentum comes in different forms. It can come in set piece, it can come in defence, it can come in attack. So you need to make sure you can do that.
Toby, can I just ask a wider question? In the autumn, the whole sort of talk was of the depth drought with Wales due to the number of injuries. And just wondered what your perception was of the young talent coming through in Welsh rugby, obviously from your point of view, the Ospreys.
Well, I can only talk about ours because I don't see the others. But I think that having an over-reliance on a certain number of players, and I suppose that transcends up as well to the Welsh. I think Wayne spoke about giving the next crop of players opportunity in the summer, and obviously through injuries he's been forced to do the same. the greatest depth charts you've got, the greater consistency in your performance. So you know there's obviously a need to do that. The difficult part is the speed at which you can make those things happen. So yes, we have to find the talent, but we also have to develop the talent. So us playing our A-League fixtures against Ealing, playing against championship clubs in England, people going out on loan, it's an individual basis. If we get the right material in and facilitate a good playing programme for them, I think you'll see the depth chart improving both at regional level and obviously as a result by default at international level. So I think there's definitely talent there, but we've all got to work in a connected, collaborative manner to try and get that talent, you know, visible and developed. So I think there's a lot of talent around, despite being a theoretically small nation. But we've got to work exceptionally hard to find it.